And the Trump administration has announced new economic sanctions on Iran, describing the measures as an economic D-Day. For more on how these measures could actually affect Iran and the broader impact, we're joined today by Professor Hassan Geon, visiting professor at the Institute of Middle East Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Professor Geon, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
So the United States has threatened to impose severe sanctions against any country or entity maintaining economic ties with Tehran. Will this actually succeed in isolating the country? Because some say the United States has held back its toughest measures for now. How much of an impact do these sanctions actually have on Iran's economy?
These sanctions, of course, can hurt Iran very seriously, but complete isolation is much harder than that. The important distinction here is between economic damage that they can do to the Iranian economy and the political capitulation. So Iran is already under very enormous pressure, like sanction pressure from the United States. The IMF already projected that Iran economy to contract this year about 5.4%, and the consumer price is rising so fast to almost 70%. And the consumer price and food price, they have already they are already under severe restrictions and severe economic crisis. But this so these new sanctions will increase this existing crisis rather than create one from scratch. So the latest measures, however, are so enormous that they have said that they have targeted 60 individuals and many companies and vessels and targeting many sectors like shipping and technology. Yet the administration of United States or Washington stopped short of sanctioning the Chinese major financial institutions that facilitate Iranian trade. So the sanctions can significantly weaken Iran, but whether they isolate it depends on China primarily, and on third countries. Third countries are if they are compromised with the United States in order to implement these sanctions.
Right, and Iran says it's fully prepared and that it has a 2-year plan to counter these widened sanctions. How might Iran retaliate?
Iran's 2-year plan appears primarily to be economic resilience strategy rather than a real plan. So Iran officials said that Iran has prepared for tighter sanctions for some time, including measures to manage economic disruption and like reconstruction of the economy. But militarily, however, Iran will follow the same symmetric rather than conventional way. So they will their major leverage, of course, as we know, is the Strait of Hormuz, and they might also threaten the Gulf energy exports. They have repeatedly threatened that they will stop it altogether. And also, the second option they have is the missile and drones and their allied armed groups on the area, especially the Houthis. So, beside the Hormuz, they could also disrupt the shipping routes through the Bab el-Mandeb and the Red Sea. So, for Iran, there's nothing new about their deterrence way. It will be the same. Most importantly, the Strait of Hormuz, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. So for Iran, they will keep the energy market and the global market hostage until the United States compromise.
Right. And as for China, it seems pretty unclear how far the Trump administration is really prepared to go in confronting Beijing, which is Iran's biggest trading partner. What do these new sanctions mean for China?
China is the key word here. China has been Iran's largest oil customer for several years, and especially its discounted oil. And that relationship gives Tehran a major economic lifeline. The U.S. therefore faces a dilemma: sanctions that avoid China's major banks that facilitate Iranian trade, or sanctions that aggressively target those banks could turn Iran campaign into a much broader U.S.-China confrontation, economic confrontation. We might go back to the economic war. China has already rejected the new sanctions as unilateral and has said it will take necessary measures to protect Chinese interests. So no sanctioning measure Chinese banks suggests that Trump wants China to reduce Iran's economic lifeline, but he also has to consider the relationship with China, the economic relationship with China, and possible Chinese retaliation, including the areas such as critical minerals. And so China will likely to oppose the sanctions publicly and negotiate with the United States privately to find the easier way to deal with the Iranian situation.
I see. And Pakistan's army chief was in Iran, and Pakistan's military said they made significant progress in talks to end this war. How much of a role can Pakistan actually play in mediating peace talks between the United States and Iran?
Pakistan can play a very meaningful intermediary role because, but they cannot impose a settlement to themselves. So, because Pakistan is unusually useful because it currently has access to both sides of negotiation. Washington asked Pakistan to encourage Iran to return to negotiations. Iranian officials also have confirmed receiving messages from the U.S. And the Pakistani officials said there is a significant progress, particularly regarding the opening the Strait of Hormuz and the escalation of the conflict. But so what's good about Pakistan is its trusted communication channel. When direct U.S.-Iranian diplomacy is politically very difficult, they don't trust each other, especially Iran doesn't trust the U.S. So the central problem is not communication here, it's mutual distrust between these two bargaining parties. So Washington and Tehran themselves must decide whether to continue this conflict or the cost of compromise.
Right, we'll have to wait and see. All right, Professor Geon, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.